Bishop Eugene Taylor Sutton was at today's hearing. You just saw him a moment ago, and he was kind enough to agree to join us tonight. Bishop, thanks a lot for coming on.
Well, thank you, Tucker.
So, what you said about white people needing, all white people needing to support reparations struck me as the antithesis of the Christian understanding of guilt, which is that God judges each person based on his or her choices, not on the choices made by his ancestors.
Absolutely.
How does this work?
Absolutely, but that quote, I definitely was not referring to the eternal significance of people's souls for eternity. That was not my whole statement there. I talked about the souls of black folk and the souls of white folk, which is to say that all of us have a stake in this. You know, Tucker, in my diocese, the Diocese of Maryland, an Episcopal Church, half my diocese is Republican, half Democrat. We are liberal, we are conservative, rural and city and suburban. And here's what we did last month. We all voted to affirm the issue of reparations, to affirm my statement on reparations, and we committed ourselves to doing this, and we did it by coming together once it was properly understood that it's not a check given to all black persons.
But and I wonder about that. No, and I'm aware of that, but let me ask you this. So your diocese has, according to the last audit, about $53 million in assets. And it shrunk. There are far fewer Episcopalians than there were a generation ago, as you well know, and I know as one of them. So why not sell some of your properties and put that money toward reparations? If the diocese really does support this issue so much, why not pay for it?
Well, and this is what we are studying. We affirmed the principle of it last month, and we will spend the next year or several years figuring out how to do that. We do know that money is involved, but that is a final step. And that's why I support this bill. This bill is to institute a commission so that we can all come together and figure out what can we do about this mess we've inherited. And as a matter of fact, Tucker, I think you and I should be on that commission. And let's figure it out together.
But the country, but I would just say, as a historical matter, the country has for 150 years been trying to, as you put it well, I think, trying to figure out how to fix this mess that we inherited. And that's right, it is a mess. We did inherit it, and we are trying. But I guess what I'm interested in, because you are a clergyman, is this question of guilt. And so how can people feel guilty for something they didn't do? How can people who didn't commit a crime be culpable for it?
Well, I never used the word guilt today. I don't think guilt is the issue here. The issue is responsibility. What do we do about this mess? What do we do about the wealth gap? We are not pointing fingers at anyone. In fact, in this journey toward reparation, which just means to repair, it's a journey marked by love and forgiveness and trying to get all of us on board there. This is what we did in Maryland, and if we can do it in Maryland, I think we can do it in this nation.
Well, wait a second. Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I got to pin you down. In your statement today, you said that white people have to support this so that they can look black people in the eye.
Well,
now, I don't support this. Wait, hold on. And I have no problem looking African Americans in the eye because I haven't supported slavery or Jim Crow. And I treat each person as an individual, and so I don't bear any guilt for this. I don't, but you seem to think I do. Why?
No, I'm not saying that you should feel guilty. You should feel a responsibility, as I do, as all of us do. So, 250 years of slavery, and then the next 150 years, and we're still involved in this. And it was only about 40 or 50 years ago that we witnessed the end of the Jim Crow laws. And that came after 100 years of struggle after that. Do you really believe that just based on what the great accomplishments we've been able to make in this nation in the last 30 years, that adequately redresses the debt that we have all inherited? Uncompensated labor.
No, I don't. I don't, and I think that we are living with the effects of our history. There's no question about that. I would not deny that.
And what are we going to do about that?
But the truth is that, well, let's see, 41% of African Americans in this country receive some form of aid from the government. It's the highest of any ethnic group. Now, you're saying that we need to put more into programs targeted toward African Americans. I would argue that what we have now clearly isn't working. I think you would agree.
I agree.
So what exactly do you have in mind that we haven't tried?
Well,
Yes,
I
is what
agree
I'm
that it's
asking.
not working well. And you know what else is not working well? Underfunded school systems. I gave an example this morning of African American elderly women languishing in nursing homes who've inherited no wealth, have no resources. Cannot we help them? The mass incarceration of many of our black citizens, it's a national nightmare. When we're talking about reparations, then
Well, the crime
we're talking
rate's a
about
problem, too,
we're
which
talking
means-
about a commitment to address those wrongs. We're not talking about
Bishop,
a check from white persons to black persons. What is this generation going to do together? And we need to do this together.
All right. And I would like to see some of the $51 million in your diocese go toward that. I think that would
Stay
be
tuned.
leadership. Good. Bishop,
Stay
thank you
tuned.
very much. Good to see you.
Thank you, Tucker.